courts hand are tied. They are creatures of statute. So judges, you may feel that they can use their common sense or use their heart in making decisions, but their hands are tied by statute. All of us are adults in here. We have this saying that the law is an ass. Because of stare decisis, you have to follow previous rulings or binding rulings over you.
Sense or no sense?
It's even if it's nonsense. In 1993, the Court of Appeal of the Privy Council made a very important and very controversial decision in a case called Pratt versus Morgan. In this case, the Privy Council held that waiting more than 5 years on death row was considered a violation of the human rights, not to be subjected to inhumane and degrading treatment. Following this case, it was ruled in the case of Penfield versus Attorney General, it's a Bahamian case, that 3.5 years was an inappropriate time to be waiting on death row. In a local case concerning a convicted murderer named Ernest Lockhart, the Privy Council made a two-pronged test. And this test was adopted from another case called Tringham and the Queen. And the test was as follows. 1. The crime must be the worst of the worst. Are you tired of that?
Yeah. Because I know what that means.
And there must be no reasonable possible possible reform. Further, the goals of the punishment cannot be accomplished by any other means. So you could punish this person by any other appropriate means. If this is not the worst of the worst, and if there was not any intention or any effort to reform this person, then they're not going to uphold the death penalty. In this case, the Privy Council held that murder did not constitute the worst of the worst to justify the death penalty. Instead, Lockhart was resentenced to 54 years in prison.
So,
I understand that's the worst of the worst.
You haven't seen it yet?
We didn't kill my family.
None of the courts
I
have,
worse than that.
none of the courts have upheld. That's what we see the one that the courts have made a ruling on what is the worst of the worst.
What?
That's it.
See?
Okay, let me ask you a question.
That's subjective, that's why.
The worst of the worst.
Well, up your opinion, I like to think it's the worst of the worst.
Many countries, including the Bahamas, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, but Bermuda, they have attempted to define in their laws what is the worst of the worst. But just like I was telling you with stare decisis cases, they're not being tested in court yet. So someone has to bring this before a court. The court has to make a ruling on it. Maybe the court of appeal. There has to be appeal to the Privy Council, and we have to sit back and see what happens. So this is untested.
Okay, if the Hebron case, if he was on sound mind
Yes.
when he committed that act and it was a domestic violence situation, would you consider what he did the worst of the worst if he was in sound mind?
I would consider it the worst of the worst.
Right.
Now, if I was
But because he is, well, they're saying he has diminished capacity.
if I was to argue a case, if I was on the prosecution side arguing a case, I would have to strongly examine all the cases before.
Right.
And try to weed away what didn't convince the Privy Council was worst of the worst. And you would try to go. So each one of these cases that fail, somebody's going to get closer and closer.
Right.
Because they learned from the last case.
Yeah, because I really want to know what the worst of the worst is.
So when someone has to go for appeal now, they're going to take all of these cases that failed. They're going to say, well, since those wasn't the worst of the worst, how about this? I really considered all of those other things. This is the worst of the worst. That's what you have to say.
So what Kofi did to Daniel Boy in the worst of the worst?
Well, they haven't gotten to the court of appeal yet.
So what that man did Canelli in the whistle was true?
If they get to the court, if they get to the Privy Council, then they hold it supposed to go.
Wouldn't that, I mean, what you said, Nelly, that's a domestic issue, right? So I mean, that would,
Circumstances.
so when,
They gonna say
You have to
certain.
look at all the surrounding factors. Like I was talking about, maybe
They
provocation,
take the church law, that's the
maybe self-defense, maybe so many things. Just make a person
What about
that
the young man
straight.
who they had hold him first, not hold him, because they couldn't find his head for months. He buried. They found his body. The dog sniffed his head somewhere else about November. He Wallace.
You might consider the waste of the waste.
No, they don't consider
Head somewhere else in
I would consider it the waste of the waste.
But they don't consider
A
it.
lot of the cases I've read, my personal opinion, I consider, I say, how to get rid of waste in this.
because I mean, in my personal opinion, I thought once, I can understand maybe one murder you get no, but I mean, like people who kill multiple people, wouldn't that like consider especially, yeah,
A person who killed multiple people, a person who got charged or got accused of killing multiple people, so that's another issue altogether. Because if a person is charged with something, that doesn't mean that they committed it. You still have to be found guilty. I like to use this example, lecture of mine, Mr. Thomas Evans. He gave me this example in evidence class. I like to use it. Miss Polly is my neighbor. We don't talk, but she has some juicy mangoes. I want one, but I don't ask. I can't ask her because we don't talk. So I wait until she goes to bed, jump a fence, and climb a mango tree. I hear a gunshot. I think she's shooting at me. So I break off running, jump back over the fence, run in my house. Why are you trying to shoot me for mango? The police knock on my door. You're under arrest for the murder of Miss Polly. Me? I just was stealing mangoes. All y'all in this room saw me run out of the yard, jump over the fence, and run inside. We saw him in her yard. We watched him run out the yard. He jumped the fence. That was him.
You said the right place.
Right wrong, the wrong
I don't
time.
think you're stealing mangoes.
My Lord.
But you right there with the murder take place.
Murder.
Wouldn't you want a lawyer to
Yeah.
assist you with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Next
just
time
because
we
you
have
get
mangoes,
charged
but-
with something,
Doesn't mean you did the
That
crime.
don't mean you did it.
That's true.
doesn't mean that you did it. So we have to, maybe we had someone's charged with a crime. Even as lawyers, we sometimes we sit amongst ourselves and say, "Why you do that, man?" But we also have to remind ourselves that we are officers of the court, and until this fellow is proven guilty,
Yeah.
he's innocent.